Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. To know more about Axe DevTools iOS integration tool API today. We are hoping that it will help you to make your mobile applications accessible, and in that way, you will be helping somebody's life to be more independent. In the world and making a change in a way forward path. Thank you so much, and let me, without a delay, let me start it. Okay. So myself, Sujashri Korapati, I have been part of DQ and accessibility for last 13 years. And before that, I worked for Microsoft India and NCR corporations. And I started DQ India 9 years ago, and I have been managing it. That's my very brief intro. And today I'll be your tour guide to walk you through this product, and Aparna also joining with me. She's my colleague at DQ, who is the Director of Professional Services. Aparna, do you want to give your self intro?
Sure, Sujashri. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome, and thank you for taking time to join us to understand more about native accessibility and how our tool can help you. So to briefly introduce myself, I've been working in the field of accessibility for 15 plus years now. I worked with Nokia, Carnegie Mellon University, Qatar Foundation, Wells Fargo, and with DQ for the past 5 years. So that's a brief intro, and looking forward to interact with you all. Thank you, Sujashri. On
Yeah,
to you.
thank you, Aparna. So I'm not sure how many of you know about DQ already. So just for the benefit of everyone, let me introduce DQ to all of you. DQ has been doing this digital accessibility business very exclusively for over 20 years now, since 1999. And as you might aware, we are a product company with global services as well as part of our professional services. And Xcore is the rule engine that we've open sourced in 2015, which helps you with analyzing HTML content for accessibility issues. And we have 250 plus million plus downloads as of today on Xcode. So that's the that much I mean, like, it is very widely used across the industry. And as I said, like, we have a product suite which is rebranded with Axe because of its domination in the market. And our product suite consists of products for both enterprise needs and also for the development teams needs. That includes developers, testers, and DevOps, all of that, different roles as well. And we do have global services team, very well recognized in the W3C groups as well. And we do provide the trainings which are like online and instructor led trainings as well. And at DQ we promote shift left a lot, meaning that we suggest all of our clients to start thinking about accessibility at the design phase itself. And if you observe, all of our tools promote that shift left approach. And we do have tools at every phase of software life cycle. On the design front, we are working on a tool right now, but starting from coding phase, we do have products that serves different needs to make your applications accessible. Given this context, in case if you want to know more about any other tools, or if you need more information, then you can contact me or Raparna, or our sales team. We do have Abin on the call, Ayush and Rashika as well. So they are the primary contacts for sales and marketing. So you can be in touch with them if you want to know more information about other products as well. So given this context, let me move to the today's focus. So today's focus is yeah, before this, actually, let me understand the audience group. So I want to ask really simple three questions. Please help out with your answers. Let me start the poll. I'm not able to get it. Why? Okay. Okay, I see a question one. Okay, I'm launching it. Please answer. Let's take a maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute and then answer it. So the question is, for everyone's benefit, let me read it out actually. How comfortable are you with respect to digital accessibility? The options are I'm comfortable, I want to learn more, I am new, and I'm a pro. So these are the options. And in case if you are a person with a disability and the poll is not accessible for you, you please feel free to put your answer in the chat box. Okay, because most of the participants answered the question, I'm ending it right now, end poll. And I see that 37% people said I am comfortable, and 35% people said I want to learn more, and 17% said I'm new, and 12% of people are like pros. Okay, so let me move to the second question quickly, and I'm launching the question. And the question is, I'm a champion in design, development, testing, product owner or manager, and management. Okay. Okay. Most of the team answered, so I'm ending the poll. And 9% of people from design, 20% from development, 64% from testing audience, testing group, and 2% from product owner or manager, and 5% from management. Let me poll the last question, third one. And the question is, when building native app, I think it's more relevant for QA and development groups. Like when building a native app, what is the technology you often work with, like framework, traditional iOS, Objective-C UI kit, Swift UI, Xamarin, Ionic, React Native, Cordova or PhoneGap, Flutter, and others. Okay, so it looks like little more than half of the audience group answered the question, maybe because of their role. So let me end the poll. And traditional iOS, like which means Objective C, Swift, or UI Kit, all of that is like 27%. Swift UI 20%. Xamarin and Ionic 0%. React Native 37%, and Flutter 3%, others 12%. So majority of it is like React Native, and the next major is the traditionally iOS, maybe Swift and Objective-C and all of that. Okay, thank you so much for your valuable input. I wanted to know, actually we missed one question here, so please put your answer in the chat. If you are using any other accessibility tool for checking accessibility issues in the for your iOS apps, and in fact for any Android app as well for that matter. Wave tool, okay. Xcode, that means maybe accessibility inspector. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Keros, okay. Inspector, wave, linked, Pally. But these some of these are for web, right? Not specifically for native app, isn't it?
Yeah, Wave, Accessibility Inspector, Pally, these are all web tools, not native application.
Yeah, in Accessibility Inspector is for native apps only, but Accessibility Insights for web is for
Microsoft
web.
Insight, yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
Microsoft, yes.
yeah. Okay, okay. So this is good information. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the topic of today. Go back to the presentation mode. Okay, so today's focus is Axe DevTools, particularly iOS mobile APIs. We are going to talk about, and let me explain the use cases where exactly our API will be useful. So, for example, first scenario would be like as a developer, I am working on developing a native mobile application on Xcode or on iOS platform, and I want to test for for accessibility and I want to see how accessible my application is. Okay, so in this scenario, yes, while you are progressing with your app development, our API can be used. Second scenario is as a developer, I want to run my unit test cases suite after I am done with my development procedures. Okay, then I want accessibility testing to be part of that automation workflow. In this scenario as well, you can use our API. Third scenario is use cases for QA. As a tester, I want to perform accessibility testing of my application while doing regression testing or any automated test scripts, right? So even in this scenario, you can use our API. And as a DevOps person, I want to perform accessibility testing when someone does the check-ins, like during the continuous integration or deployment procedures. So I want to make assertions saying that there are it is very Axe clean, meaning that there are no accessibility issues, and then only I want to allow the build to go into production or to the next stage of development, right? So in all these scenarios, we can use our API, Axe DevTools Mobile iOS API. And actually, when if you purchase Axe DevTools, it is a licensed product. And when you purchase that product, actually what it comes with is, it comes with HTML tools and API. When I say tools, it's like Axe extensions. With the number of features, not just the Axe extension that is freely available. So it comes with a very feature, I would say Axe extension with many more features, and then API as well. And when it comes to mobile, we address both Android, and iOS as well. In case of Android, it comes with a tool like to check any of the production app as well. Not on you don't need the source code always. And we also give the API for Android check as well. And when it comes to iOS, we do have a limitation that you can't execute the, you can't use the tool on top of any production API. Like, you have to have code in order to use our API. Okay, so that's the thing. That's a limitation in iOS part because of the technical problems. Okay. Um, and then, so it was actually called a test in the past, and we, as I said, like we rebranded the entire product suite of DQ's products as to prefix with Axe because of its popularity in the space, accessibility space. And so Axe DevTools iOS, which is formerly called Attest, is a tool which you can use to find accessibility defects in in iOS apps. Okay, but as I said, the limitation is you have to have source code in order to use this API, and we don't have a way to run this against on the production apps. Okay, And if in this package only the API still refers, then as part of naming convention we are still referring it as attest in the API, but everywhere else including the documentation we changed the rebranding stuff, and now it is referred as XDevTools only. And not only the brand name change, actually from last year we have added lots of very good features like highlight, inspect, sharing the ticket details so that you can copy to Zira, and customization. All of these are great features that we added recently to this package as well. So as part of the main components, it comes with three main components. One is, you have an app and we need to analyze the code of that app for the accessibility, right? So we are giving a service that runs with that application, and then there is another service that collects the results, and send it to the dashboard. And the third component is the dashboard where you can see the results. So this is a very simple architecture. So as I said, like, this is your mobile app, and you have Axe DevTools service attached to that, and that evaluates your code for accessibility issues and sends that information to the service, another service which collects the results, and then that service will make sure it sends the data to the dashboard so that you can view. So these are the only three components that you need to understand in order to use this product. Stop me in case if you have any questions, or we can address your questions later as well. Okay, so in order to use this product, prerequisites are you have to have Xcode 10.2 or higher, and you have to have access to Deque's Artifactory, because you need to download the framework, and also you need to download the executable for dashboard as well, and is the reason you need to have those credentials. And also you need to have access to the mobile dashboard so that you will be able to see the results. These are the prerequisites. It's a very simple one. And also we push the results in two ways. We allow the two types of deployments. One is the cloud deployment, another one is the desktop deployment. So in terms of cloud, actually we send the results via HTTPS, very secured and encrypted protocols, and you can view the results as well via HTTPS web UI. And in terms of desktop deployment, everything will be installed on your local environment, and if you are testing it with a simulator, you no need to have a USB connected. But in case if you want to test your app on real device, mobile device, then you have to connect it to an USB, and that serves as a communication channels to communicate via different components. And you can view the results on the downloaded dashboard executable. Okay, so just to summarize it in the picture, as you saw in the other picture, it's the same thing. Only thing is, like, it sits on the cloud, the Axe DevTools service, which communicates. And when I say that you see the results on the dashboard, it means that we showed the laptop here, right? It's like browser web UI on your laptop is what we meant here. And then if it is a desktop one, it's very simple, like everything is installed on your local machine, and the service will both the service and the dashboard will sit on your laptop or on your machine, and the communication flows within your app, from your app to your services, Axe DevTools services. Okay, so this is how the dashboard looks. First, I'm giving you the brief, and before giving the demo, so that you already make up your mind about like how it looks. So this is the dashboard. As you are seeing on the picture, this is how it looks, and we give you the score based on certain criteria. I'll explain you that. Based the criteria is basically three parameters. One is, first of all, it is only about automated rule set results. So it doesn't cover entire WCAG coverage, but certain rules of native apps. Okay, so and on top of it, what we are the criteria we are checking to give the score of your dashboard is, we see how many apps are actually, how many screens are actually Axe clean. That means with the zero issues. That is the first criteria. Second criteria is we see the ratio between the passed issues versus no, failed issues as per the normative section. And then the third criteria is based on the issue's severity, like, is it a critical issue or serious issue or minor or major, those kind of criticality. So based on all of that, we calculate the score and we'll say whether your score is representing poor or good state health basically of your applications. So that is the score part. And then I'll show you, but when you click the issues, you will see the view issues, like, and I mean, you can highlight the issue, you can view when you inspect it, you will see the hierarchy of the app controls. And you can share the thing, you can customize the rules and all of that. I'll show you this dashboard in just in a while. Okay. So these are the different components that you need to worry about when if you want to use our tool. So before the demo, I want to simplify the setup process here. So all the setup is just the two steps basically. One is you have to download the Axe DevTools dashboard. I just showed you, right? That one, in case if you want to see the results in your local setup rather than on the cloud. Okay. And the second setup is download the framework through by using the credentials, like by accessing the DQ's Artifactory, and attach that, embed that particular framework into your application. It is as simple as downloading and attaching that API to your framework. That's all required. And one prerequisite before you run the Axe DevTools API is that you have to load the accessibility layer by opening up the inspector, accessibility inspector that comes as part of Xcode. So failing this step will really result false positives, because there is a technical limitation wherein without inspector our API is not able to retrieve some of the accessibility related properties of your app. So it's really a platform level limitation, nothing to do with our API. So that's the reason this is there. Okay. So when, let's assume that you have this setup, you downloaded the framework, you attach it to your app, and now how do you run it, right? So let's take the first use case where I'm a developer and I'm developing my application, and I want to quickly test how accessible my current state of the application is, right? So in that case, all you have to do is go to your scene delegate or app delegate based on your iOS version, and set the server, like call, in case if you are using cloud version, you have to set the credentials for it by using the method set server. And if it is a local connection that you want to use, you have to call set local connection. These are the only two methods you need to be worried about to set the connection between the components basically. And then you have to start the start testing method of a test package. I'm referring it as a test because as I said, in the API it is not changed to Axe DevTools, but everywhere else it is changed to the new branding. So you have to call this start testing on our API, which actually starts the FAB. When I say FAB, it is a floating action button. It's a very fancy purple guy that comes up on your screen, and you have to trigger, you have to click that button. Let's imagine that as an analyze button on Axe general HTML extension, right? Instead of button, we made it little fancy and modern. And once you click that, purple guy, it scans whatever the screen it is on. It scans that particular screen and sends the results to the dashboard. If you are connected to the local dashboard, local connection, then it will send you to the local dashboard, otherwise to the cloud. Okay, so that was the first use case. And in the second use case, you may want to include automation testing flow, right? Like, whatever we automated the rules in the first case, we are triggering those running those automated tools via FAB button. Like, only the manual step is clicking that button on a particular screen where you want to check the accessibility issues. Whereas in the second use case, it's like, you want to run the accessibility checks as part of automation flows. I don't want to even to trigger that, click that fancy purple guy, right? So in that case, you can just call simply is accessible method that is available in the API, and pass the storyboard or the view name and all of that. and call that is accessible method, you are done with it. Okay. And in case of unit test, like if you want to put assertions, this is how you do it. XSCT assert, and then you pass the condition to it. If failures is empty, then you're good with the accessibility testing. Otherwise, it fails basically, right? And this is that simple actually. You just download the framework, attach it, set the local connection or the cloud server by passing the credentials, and then start testing, right? And in case of just one screen that you are working right now, you use the fab to trigger the automated rules checking. And in case of automation workflows or the regression suites, you just call is accessible method on whatever the views that you want to check against for accessibility. So that simple it is. And we allow the customizations. For example, if you don't want to run any particular, actually this particular product supports checking 15 rules on any native app. So in case if you want to ignore some of the specific rules based on your organizational needs, you can ignore that. And also we provide, as part of the API, there is a class called attest rule, and you can inherit and then write your own behavior or customize. You can write your own custom rule as well and extend the framework as per your organization needs. That is also available. And also once it does, it just gives you in terms of JSON, right? You can save those results to a local machine and the format by following the format .attest, and at later point of time, if you want to reopen those issues on the dashboard, you can open the format saved results as well. And also you can change the floating action button behavior as well by its appearance, or what it has to do, or which view it has to start, whatever you want to, like you can change both the appearance and behavior of the fab button as well. You will see all this in action. Let me start demoing it. Before demo, if let me see the chat so that I can take any questions are there. Okay, Microsoft Insight for Android only, not for iOS. Okay, accessibility options via iPhone settings. Okay, that is a tool that they use. Okay, fine. Let me show you the demo. So I'll start with first the dashboard thing so that you're familiar how to see the results. So this is my dashboard right now, and I have two screens here, which are checked against the accessibility. And as you see, this is a screen name, color contrast. For example, I have 12 issues here, and on access in inspector rules, I have 6 issues. And let me click on that, and as you see, there are as I can see the view, and as you see the view, it actually shows you the screen appearance here. You are seeing the screen as well, which is the screenshot of the view that is tested for accessibility. And here there are list of issues, 6 issues are there, right? And it categorized by the rule name basically here. And here under each rule it found one issue here. So let's say let's open this active control name, and if you go to more details, you will be able to see the more info on this issue. This is a remediation help. Before going to remediation help, let me highlight the issue. So as you see, it is highlighting the issue here with the red border. So you know that this is the element that is causing this accessibility issue. And also you will come to know what actual properties are analyzed in order to throw this issue, and what is the description of this problem, like what exactly is the problem. Ensure active controls must have an accessible name. That means like you have to give a label for it. Then whenever you use voiceover, it announces the name properly for the screen reader users, right? That's the purpose of it. So and also in the, actually it's not yet released, but there is a very beautiful feature that is coming up, is like you can copy the link just into the clipboard, so that you will get all these details with the screenshot as well, so that you can just copy paste that link to your Jira ticket. No need to copy paste and export the things into your Jira. Okay, that's another thing. And also there is a share feature. wherein like you can export the scan results to an to Excel or CSV and download it to your platforms as required. And also in settings, as you see, it is the same dashboard for both iOS and Android. So here you see the list of rules that we are supporting for iOS, and there are certain rules for Android, and you can customize as per your need and apply so that it checks only for those selected rules. Okay, and other beautiful feature, okay, before that, actually here as you see, you can see even how many are passed and how many are incomplete and how many are failed as well. And also there is an inspect feature which is very useful. Actually it gives you the structure of the, I don't know how many other tools are able to provide you this kind of hierarchy of your application controls, but here we are showing how your controls are positioned and nested, basically based on like how you get the DOM for HTML. This is similar thing for native apps. I hope this will be too helpful in case of if you want to check against the nested tool, nested controls kind of rules and labels and all of that. And also you can filter it by just filter to only whatever is visible to the user. Don't show me the hidden controls, right? So that kind of hierarchy is also available here. And then if I go back to the remediation, I want to show how important this documentation is. So I just clicked this particular more info on this particular issue, and it took me to this sorry, a site where it documentation site where it tells you under which WCAG criteria actually this issue is relevant, and I mean like against which particular success criteria this issue failed, and is it level A, double A, or all of that. And then what the algorithm that we are using for to check against this issue, and how to fix that, basically what kind of property you have to use in order to fix this issue, and the code snippet, a very brief code snippet as well, and how it impacts the user actually, if it is a serious issue or if it is a critical issue, how it is going to impact the end user when they are using your mobile application. Let's say for example, if someone is let's say you are on your app is a transactional app, and you're doing it with the person, the end user is the user is using the doing the withdrawal, and if they do not know what they are navigating through, like if there is no label and they just hear it as something like button or some kind of link, or maybe it announced the role, but if it doesn't have a proper label to it, it doesn't announce whether they are clicking a withdrawal button or they are clicking a other buttons of you on your screen, right? So that's the kind of impact. So they are stuck there, they do not know what they are clicking, right? So that kind of impact level is defined here. And also how can you test it, like retest it and confirm that it's not an issue anymore, like turn on voiceover, not only using the automated tool like what I'm showing, but you can switch on the voiceover and go to that particular control and then listen to it, what it is announcing. Is it announcing the name properly or not? If it is announcing the label, like it's okay, you are trying to withdraw, right? So it should announce withdraw button, right? Or it should say maybe some other button name. So in that so if it is not doing that, then it is still inaccessible and you have to go back and fix. So we are giving here the testing criteria, manual testing criteria as well, along with automation rule that we are throwing here. And also for developers we are giving the code snippet, and also we are telling you now from the normative angle, where it exactly failing, right? And the severity of it. So all these details are available for testers and developers. Okay, so because now you have seen the dashboard view, let me go to the editor itself and let me show you how we can run the API. Okay, so for example, I downloaded a demo application. So imagine your own application. Instead of this demo app here, it's just a demo app, and then all I did is I downloaded the test framework and then attach it to it, embedded it into my application. And now what I'm trying is again go back to the use case one. So where I'm going to the, like, I'm a developer working on work is in the progress and I want to test, right? So here, because I wanted to test it on my local using my local connection, I just called set local connection. Before that, I imported the test framework, I attached it, and then I imported it, right? And then I called the set local connection to establish the connection between the components and then start testing. So let's quickly run it and see how it appears. Okay, so I'm doing it. Before that, make sure your accessibility inspector is on, like I'm showing here in my taskbar. And then, yeah, so this is the simulator I'm using. And let me go to dashboard as well. Okay, so this is my demo application. It is just demo application, and imagine your own application in this place. And let me go to a screen, particular screen, and then I want to run accessibility check on it. And this is the fancy guy, purple guy I have been talking about, floating action button. So I'm just, it floats basically, and I just want it, I'm just clicking it so that it scans this particular screen, whatever is available on it. And let me go back to dashboard and see it added another one, like active control name. If you see, that is my screen name here, right? So it found two issues, and I'm going back to view the results and then opening it and highlight. As you see, it highlighted an image that doesn't have a label, and even the second one is also similar one, but the switch button, right? So we know that where the issues are right now and what kind of issue it is. Both the issues are saying it doesn't have a proper label. So let me fix that and come back here and see the dashboard. Okay, so go back to editor and let me go to that particular screen. Where is it? Demos, I think. Yeah, failing button. This is the one. This is a screen actually. So I'm going ahead and fixing it by putting the proper label. I'm saving it and then rerunning it. And yes, replace. And go back and then see the results. Yeah, because it's in interactive mode, I have to open the screen and then click the Fab button, and then it sends the results to the dashboard. Now you see only one issue here, and yeah, as you see, let me go and highlight it. You see only this button, switch button is highlighted now, and the first issue is gone now. So this is how you can test your mobile native application with Axe DevTools API when you are working on an application. And let's take the second use case wherein you want to test number of as part of automation, right? um, and also it can be a workflow. The same approach holds true for DevOps use case, and the if you want to test a particular workflow or all of that. So I'm going to a particular demo application. So here what we are doing is basically we wrote a function wherein we are collecting all the view controllers that are views that are that we wanted to check. If it is a workflow also, you can use, all you have to make sure is you are giving this collection to us, basically to the attest API, and then calling is accessible method, as you see here, for all the view controllers that we identified as part of this workflow, right? So let me trigger this action so that it runs. So now I no need to click the Fab button because it is part of my automation workflow. So it automatically, goes to that screen and runs the accessibility checks and push those results to dashboard. So as you see in the console, it is already running, and yeah, giving the results in the console. And once it is done, we can go back, and yeah, it is done. That's the reason it went back to the home screen. And as you see, there are 15 screens in my demo application. That's the reason you are seeing number of screens on my dashboard now, right? So this is how you can test the automation part as well as part of your regression and unit testing suites. Okay, so this is what I have for the demo, and let me go back to the presentation, and we can explain you the rules a bit so that you understand what exactly we are testing against. Yeah, so I want to invite Aparna to, explain these rules in a detailed way. Aparna.
Thank you, Sujashri. Thank you for that demo and a great explanation of how what the tool does. And we have been telling you all that we cover 15 rules from WCAG, which can be, the critical issues, which can be best practices, but these are all very crucial for a person with disability to be able to interact with the application that your organization or you yourself are building. So let's just take a quick peek into those rules that we are covering as part of our tool. And the very first one is the active control name, which Sujashri has very wonderfully covered just now. And she has actually shown you in the demo where there is an active control, and an active control is something that has a functionality associated with it. And without knowing the name of it, I will not be, as a voiceover user or a screen reader user, be able to interact with it, right? That's a critical issue. And that straight away falls under 412 name role value. Now, the next one, which is very similar to what we are talking about, is the image view name. What does the image view name mean? As the word itself says, when you have non-text content like images, and when there is no accessibility label around it, or then the image is not exposed to the voiceover user. So that is about the image view name. So what does the tool do? The tool identifies those kind of issues where there are images and there is no accessibility label present for those images. Now, color contrast is like being in the world of accessibility, we all must understand where there is insufficient color contrast between the background and the foreground, depending on the font size, the tool will raise those issues. If it is less than 4.5:1 or 3:1, depending on the font size, the tool is going to raise those issues. Now, the interesting one is the focusable text, right? Um, Priyadarshini, I will come back to the questions once I cover all the rules, if that is okay, right? The focusable text is when you have chunks of data in a container, and and when they are not focused, the voiceover will not move its focus to it, right? And why does it happen? Because the ease accessibility element is not set to be or enabled. And if that is happening, then the voiceover focus will not move. We visually see the text on the screen, but the voiceover reader or the user will not be able to focus. So again, that's a straight reading order 132 critical issue, because there is an information loss to the user with disabilities, right? And then what do we have? We have in scroll view. So if you see in scroll view, colliding controls, colliding views, support dynamic types, all of these are related to the low vision user segment, where I'm a low vision user. I want to increase the font size. So I go to my accessibility settings within the device and I choose the large text. And then what happens? If my content is not within the scroll view, there is a chance that the content will get truncated. And if it is not correctly put in, then there are colliding controls, meaning controls over controls. So I'm trying to activate something, but because my font size is big and these controls are overlapping or colliding, I will not be able to do that. Similarly, colliding views, when my font size is, grew in size, these views are overlapping with each other. So there are colliding views, and there is no readability or even loss of content or functionality associated with it, which is more around 144, 1410 if it is 2.1, like, reflow, resize success criteria. Now, there'll be another, critical bug or a blocker bug for low vision users, which is around the inability to even zoom. Like, if I as a creator of the app can disable such things, which is like the support for dynamic types. If I'm blocking that, then I will not be able to make, even if I make the choice from the settings of the device, my app will not respect it. So again, as a low vision user, I will not be able to interact or read that content, right? And the next set is like, nested active controls or nested elements name. What does that nested, itself says about being together or nested under each other? So sometimes there may be multiple active controls which are nested within an accessibility element. And what does this nested active control rule do? It identifies if there are any active controls to which the voice over focus may not move because the multiple active controls are not set to be accessibility elements. So it checks for that and it says, well, you have nested active controls, but these are not focusable. So please make sure that they are, right? Similarly, nested elements name. When you have multiple paragraphs within an accessibility element, the challenge can be for the voiceover users where there is content present, but it may not be announced to the voiceover user. So visual user, sighted user gets to see all the content and non-sighted user may not be able to see those same content, right? So Jashri, can you move to the next slide, please?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So accessibility element focus box, that's a best practice. Why? Because there's really no rule around it, but we see this being done wrongly so many times in native apps. So as you all know, VoiceOver, which is a screen reader, may be used by cognitive disability users as well, not just people who cannot see. So what does VoiceOver bring in? It brings in that black color highlighted box, right? But when we are not coding it properly, the focus or that focus box can be on one part of the page while VoiceOver may be reading something else. Now there might be hidden things, so there's nothing that's being shown. There'll be an empty, highlighted box, and the VoiceOver is announcing something else. So these kind of issues make a lot of difference. Again, though it's a best practice from the usability perspective, a major issue to the voiceover users, right? We discussed about the colliding controls and views when we were talking about the resize and resize and reflow success criteria. And then what we have is conflicting traits. Now, this is a platform guideline. What is trait? Trait, as you all might know, is the role of an element in the native iOS. Now, if I'm giving a conflicting trait to the element that I'm seeing, what does it do? It may actually change the way we interact. The gestures that we use to interact with the element may be changing. Wrong trait information may lead to wrong assumptions. So for example, the common example is button versus link. When it comes to web, we say it's a best practice, but there is a specific use case for link and button in the native world. So say it's actually a button, the functionality is a button, but I give a trait of link to it, then the announcement or the behavior of the element itself is changing. So making sure that that doesn't happen is another issue that we need to handle well in advance while we are developing it. Now, similarly, label in name, label at front. This is one of the most important checks that we do for both voiceover users and switch control users, because switch control is more associated with the mobility impairments. Now, label in name, label at front is saying that whatever I see, the visual label or the icon that I'm seeing, I should be able to tell the system that you do particular action, and I'm telling that this is the name of that element. But if the accessibility label is different from the visual label, then we come across this challenge of label in name and label at front. So what will happen? The switch control and the voice over control users may get different information. And for switch control users, the action that they're wanting to perform will not actually happen, right? Similarly, touch target size. Many times when we see these interfaces on the active controls on the native application, if they're not given enough spacing, we kind of want to say submit, but we sometimes actually choose on select because they're so close together, right? So to avoid that, the Apple design guidelines is that the height and the width of the active element must be set to a minimum of 44 points. So this is also something that the tool identifies and will look at it, right? So these are the certain rules around the WCAG best practices, as well as the platform guidelines that the tool would check. right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let
I
you
think
want me to,
Varun, yeah,
yes,
Varun
Varun
raised a
and Priya.
question
Mhm.
saying visual label and accessible labels can be similar,
Yes,
but
it
not
can be.
exactly same.
No, see, the 253 says that you can have a name, the label. There may be some additions to it, but it has to be in the order in which the visible label is seen, because they depend on that, right? If I see submit this form, and I'm saying submit, activate submit, that is at least minimally passing. But if my visible label is click to submit the form and the accessible label is submit, there might be a different the way the AT or the assistive technology is going to interpret it. So they don't have to be in the or they don't have to be same, but they have to be present in the same order. That is the requirement from the WCH.
And also here it is a best practice, right? Even we are not violating
Label
that
at front is a best practice. Label
best
and
practice.
name is a
Name is
WCH
that.
issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And Priyadarshini has a question
Yeah,
on how
but
can we
we
avoid
can avoid the
decorative.
decorative images. Definitely, Priyadarshini. So when you want an image to be a decorative, you definitely wouldn't give an image name, or you wouldn't even make it focusable, right? You wouldn't say that it is, the accessibility trait to be set to true. But that is something that we want the testers or the developers to take a judgmental decision around it, because many times we may miss it, though it is informative. So that is the reason why we put it up across, and then let the user or the tester or the developer take the decision that yes, this is actually meant for decorative purposes. So we can let go.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Varun, does the accessible label should start with the same name as visual label? Should itself is a best practice, Varun. So you already have the answer in your question. Yes, that's going to be a best practice, but one that we strongly suggest you to use.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Aparna. So we are 10 minutes away to close this session. So let's, complete two more important aspects of it. So you all said, like many of you said, like you are using Accessibility Inspector, right? And we want to give the comparison in between the Accessibility Inspector and the dev tools. So so here is a table actually that distinguishes both the products. So in terms of rules, actually, Accessibility Inspector is automated, only for 6 rules, and whereas RX DevTools iOS has automated 15 rules, and as Aparna explained, those are all the 15 rules that covers some best practices, some platform guidelines, and some normative rules. And when it comes to issue levels in Accessibility Inspector, it is all about warnings. It doesn't say what is the severity of each issue, but here in Axe iOS, we are giving you the severity, critical, major, minor, serious, and all of that. And also we are saying what is passed and what is incomplete as well. And suggestion fixes I mean remediation recommendation, like fix how to fix the problem. In Accessibility Inspector you will see a very generic suggestion there, and but in case of our product, we are giving very in-depth suggestions for fix. As you have seen on the documentation site, we are giving even the code snippets as well. And also element information, Accessibility Inspector is actually providing you the label, hint, traits, and also you can hear it through voiceover actually when you activate that. But in our case, we are showing the hierarchy of the controls and the calculated values, highlight, inspect, and all of that when it comes to element information and description and remediation and all of that. And other features, I think, where Accessibility Inspector is really good at is, like, it does come with some manual testing tools, like, to help you with to understand the issue, like, when you invert the colors, let's say for example there is a color contrast issue, then you can use those tools to see, okay, if I invert the colors, what happens? Does it pass the color contrast issue? Or if I increase certain contrast level, or maybe change some colors and increase the contrast of certain color, and see the color contrast ratio again, rerun the analysis, right? So for those kind of manual tests, you can use inspector, and because all those are already there and it is part of Xcode, I don't think we need to redo those things, sir. But instead of that, what we focused at is automating more rules and custom letting you to customize the rules whatever you want, and also the ability to, like, if you use the inspector, you can't save it, like, you can just use at that particular instance of time, right? But our web UI allows you to scan the info, save and shared across your Jira tickets and all of that. And usage wise, the inspector runs on the simulator or the device on your Mac machine. And our framework, our season like a framework basically, and you need to attach that to your application code and run them. Okay, these are the little differences between Inspector and Axe DevTools iOS. And then I'll cover the last part as well, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So in terms of compatible frameworks, like where are all I can use, because nowadays there are a lot of hybrid frameworks in place that will let you to develop iOS applications, right? So, as a when it comes to the matter of compatibility, this is a table that you're seeing, like, where we are saying our API can be used on React Native applications, Xamarin applications, traditional iOS like just a Swift Objective C or UI kit, and because we are talking about only iOS here, these are the frameworks that we support through API. And what we don't support as of today is Swift UI, Flutter, and PhoneGap. And as you see on the table, actually, Flutter, we are not at all encouraging because it's not possible to create an accessible app actually using Flutter. That's the reason we are not encouraging our clients to use that framework. But in terms of other like PhoneGap, though we don't support that as of at this moment through API, but you can still use our Axe DevTools HTML to check some of the accessibility issues, and also we can provide you the remediation service, but it is restricted by some of the web view capabilities. So here what I see is Swift UI and Flutter are something like we still need to work on. Yeah, for other frameworks, we are supporting it already. Okay, now the questions. Okay, there are 7 questions. We are just 1 minute away, but whoever has the questions can stay back. We will, or we can follow up on the emails as well. So the first question was from Abhijit. Nowadays, VoiceOver provide image descriptions. So does it fetch information from image view? Provide image description. Aparna Krishna.
Yeah, it takes from the accessibility label, Abhijit, if that's what you're looking for. Not from image view, but from the accessibility label that we provide to the image view once you enable accessibility to it.
Okay. I always thought Axe was the best accessibility automation tool. Loved the way it reduces our effort. Thank you, Varun. Thank you so much. We're also using the Ghost Inspector as automation tool. It uses Axe libraries. Yeah. Okay. It's really cool. Okay. If you observe, Axe is very widely popular because many companies are really using the APIs and extensions. Yeah. Thank you, Priyadarshini. And does it support APM-based frameworks? Yes. Yes, Sri. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Priyadarshini, again for your wonderful comment. Informative. Yes. Can you share us the recording? Yes, of course. Abin and Aish, do we have plan to share with everyone, or do they need to request for the recording?
So Jashri, we will be sharing it with everyone, like all the
Okay.
All the attendees, yes, we'll share it.
Yeah. So Sundar, you will get it. Okay, maybe I missed it, but this tool is available for Mac as well. I demoed it on the Mac itself, Varun. So it is available. Yes. Image description is the AI from the Apple. Okay, Suman answered that. Okay. Is it open source? No, it is a licensed product. Microsoft also using DQ APIs. Yes, Google definitely is using it as part of their HTML Chrome extension. What was it called? Lighthouse, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
And Microsoft Insights is also using it. Abin, can you confirm that if you know it for sure?
Yeah, Microsoft is using it for, I think, Axe for Windows is what they're using it for. Insights, I have to check. I am not sure.
Okay. Yeah. And Suman, the registration form of this session is really, Suman? Oh, I'm so sorry. Abin, please take this point. We have to make the registration form of any session for that matter to be accessible. But he's particularly saying NVDA and Chrome combination.
NVIDIA and Pro. Sorry, Suman, about that.
Yeah.
Okay, NVIDIA and FF is accessible. We'll make sure from going forward that will be addressed.
We usually do it. Maybe we missed it. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry for that, but we'll make sure that next time onwards. Yeah. Okay, you checked it twice. Edge is also using it. Yeah, we do have HTML extension for Edge, Priyanka. And do we have example CI/CD available online? It's the same thing. Actually, we have the demo application, right? I have shown only 2 use cases there, but there is a third one where you can check the flow as well. For CI/CD, I think Krishna, you have an example with Jenkins, right? I'm sure he has that. Maybe he's muted or not allowed to talk, and maybe he's in the participants. So Sneha, why can't you drop an email to us so that we will give you the application, or maybe we can give a one-on-one session on that. Thank you for bringing it our notice, Oman. Okay. Yeah, this is all. When is the next try? Okay, thank you, Priyadarshini. So we will keep you in all our marketing webinar emails. Definitely you will get the invite. Thank you. Thank you, Varun, for your compliment. Can you please share the license cost? Abin, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
The licensing cost for, so this basically comes in a package of minimum 5 licenses, and it's part of the Axe Enterprise package. The per seat cost is around $1,200 per seat per user, and this is an annual license. So with a minimum packaging of 5 users, it will be $6,000 for 1 year. And when I say per seat, for example, if someone is using it for now and they move out of the project, or sometimes they move out of organization, that license can be assigned back to another user within the same period of time.
Yeah, and also we are experimenting in terms of team-based pricing and usage-based pricing and all of that. So feel free to, talk to us if you have a concern with user-based, like seat-based costing. Feel free to talk to us. We are happy to discuss and take a call on that. And also each Axe DevTools package comes with both HTML and mobile tools and APIs. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Many great session related comments. Thank you so much. And can we get a training session for designers? Sundardas, thank you so much for the, suggestion here. Definitely. I think last year we ran 3 sessions for designers, if I'm not wrong, right, Aparna?
Yes, 3 sessions on that.
Yeah, Ayush, take a point here and conduct future webinars on this topic, please.
Sure, Sujashri.
Yeah, thank you so much. We ran out of time, but it is a great session. Having all of your questions here. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Right. So do you have a small form at the end which talks about the feedback or something?
Yeah, I think already people left, so let me try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. For some reason, polls are not coming when we are in the maximized mode, actually. So, guys, I'm launching the last question. How do you rate your learning from this session? Please feel free to give the feedback, whatever it is. So the options are, I learned new concepts, knew some, learned some, second option. Third one, you told me what I know already.
We'll keep it open for another 30 seconds. And then...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, half of the participant group right now answered the question, and we'll still give some more time. Dimple has raised the question hand, so can you allow her, because anyway there are no questions. Do I have to do it? Maybe 1 second. Allow to talk. Yes, Dimple, you are now permitted to talk. Please go ahead. Okay. Anyway, so we got good response. 53% people said I learned new concepts, and 43% people said I knew some, learned some, and 1%, which constitutes to 3%, said you told me what I know already. Thank you so much for your feedback, and yeah, thanks for your participation. And feel free to reach us on our emails or the Twitter handles, on social media, anywhere, LinkedIn or whatever you prefer. We will be happy to answer your questions if you have any. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.